The planet Jarian had once been a jewel of the galaxy, a world of shining towers, floating gardens, and brilliant energy streams that lit up the skies. But now it lay in shadows, its cities cracked and silent, its forests choked by dust and decay. Wars had torn the land apart, and disease had spread among its people, leaving only a handful of survivors clinging to the hope that one day their world might heal. Among these survivors was Princess Lysera, the last of the Jarian royal family, a young woman known for her courage and wisdom. She had faced enemies, rebellions, and betrayals, yet the cruelest challenge of all was invisible, a strange disease that weakened her body and drained her life, leaving her pale and fragile. In the quiet halls of the crumbling palace, Lysera leaned against a marble railing, her eyes scanning the horizon. The twin suns of Jarian barely pierced through the thick clouds of dust, and a chill ran down her spine. Her hands shook slightly, and she felt the familiar burn of weakness in her chest. The healers had tried everything, their potions, their energy treatments, but nothing worked. She had watched as many of her closest allies and friends succumbed to the illness, and now she feared it would be her turn. Every breath felt heavier, every heartbeat slower. She could feel the weight of her people's hope pressing down on her, and yet her body threatened to betray her. Far above the planet, in the dark expanse of space, a small human spacecraft cut through the stars. Captain Kale was at its controls, scanning the region for unusual energy readings. Kale was a human warrior, one of the few left in the galaxy who traveled alone, seeking adventure and challenges that no one else dared face. His ship had been damaged in a skirmish with space pirates, forcing him to divert course toward Jarian. What he found there was beyond anything he had imagined, a planet barely alive, its energy signature flickering like a dying flame. When Kyle's ship descended through the thick clouds, the first thing he noticed was the silence. There were no ships in orbit, no signs of trade or communication, only the faint hum of dying energy. The landing was rough. The ground trembled under the ship's weight, but Kale stepped out, scanning the environment. He had faced hostile worlds before, but there was something different here, a sense of sadness that clung to everything, even the wind. As he made his way toward the palace, he felt a pull, as if the planet itself was calling him. Inside the palace, Lysera's guards were on high alert. They had grown suspicious of outsiders over the years, and rumors of humans wandering the galaxy had spread like wildfire. When Kale entered the Grand Hall, the guards immediately raised their weapons. But Kale did not attack. Instead, he spoke calmly, introducing himself and explaining that he had come because of a strange energy reading. He mentioned nothing of his human origins, knowing that alien prejudices often ran deep. Lysera, hearing the commotion from her chamber above, felt a spark of curiosity. She motioned for the guards to let the stranger through. Something about him felt different. When Kale finally stood before Lysera, he saw the toll the disease had taken on her. She was smaller than he expected, fragile in appearance, yet her eyes burned with determination. There was no fear in her gaze, only a quiet desperation. Kale understood immediately that she was dying, and that conventional methods would not save her. He had read reports of human blood being uniquely compatible with some alien biology, capable of accelerating healing in ways that alien science could not replicate. It was a risky proposition, but he had no other options. "Your Highness," Kale said, bowing slightly, "I can help you. It may be unusual, even dangerous, but my blood has properties that could save your life." Lysera's lips parted in surprise. She had expected healers or alchemists, not a human offering such a direct solution. Her advisors whispered warnings, but she silenced them with a glance. She had little time, and every moment counted. "Do it," she whispered. "I will trust you." Kyle prepared the infusion carefully, following the protocols he had learned from his own people. When the blood entered Lysera's system, she gasped as warmth spread through her veins. The sensation was unlike anything she had experienced. The weakness receded, replaced by a surge of energy, clarity, and strength. Her body tingled, and a faint glow seemed to emanate from her skin. The palace walls trembled slightly as if recognizing the change within its princess. But the transformation was not just physical. Lysera's mind sharpened, her senses heightened. She could hear the faintest whispers of her guards, feel the pulse of energy in the palace's walls, and sense the world beyond the clouds. Kale watched in awe as her power grew, realizing that the bond formed by the blood was more than healing. It linked their destinies. They were connected in ways neither fully understood, a bridge between two species that had rarely interacted. The sudden increase in Lysera's strength did not go unnoticed. Enemy forces, who had been monitoring the dying planet, detected the surge of energy. Ships appeared on the horizon, their weapons aimed at the palace. Lysera's eyes narrowed. She had been weak, but now she could fight. Her people's hope rested on her, and she would not let it die. Kale stood beside her, ready to defend her and the planet if needed. Together they became an unlikely team, human ingenuity and alien heritage combining to face an overwhelming threat. As the first enemy vessels descended, Lysera stepped forward. She could feel the energy coursing through her, a combination of her own alien power and the human vitality Kale had shared. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a pulse of light that pushed back the attackers, momentarily stunning them. Kale moved with precision, disabling the ship's engines and shields using his tactical knowledge. The battle was chaotic, but for the first time in years, hope shone on Geryon. After the skirmish, Lysera and Kale stood on the palace balcony looking out at the horizon. The twin suns were setting, casting a reddish glow over the damaged cities. Lysera's voice was steady, full of resolve. "This is only the beginning," she said. "If my strength can protect my people, then we will fight. But there is more to do. We must unite the survivors, prepare for those who will not stop until this planet is ours no more." Kyle nodded. "We'll face it together. Your strength, my experience. We can change things. We can give your people a chance to survive." Lysera smiled faintly, the first real smile in days. For the first time, she felt a flicker of hope that was not just a fleeting dream. The bond with Kale had given her life, yes, but it had also awakened something deeper. The realization that humans, despite their fragility in the eyes of the galaxy, possessed qualities that could alter the course of worlds. Courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when all seemed lost. These were powers even alien science could not fully explain. Night fell on Geryon, but the darkness no longer felt oppressive. Within the palace, preparations began to strengthen defenses, train the remaining soldiers, and reach out to scattered communities. Lysera moved with energy she had not felt in years, directing operations, planning strategies, and inspiring her people. Kale assisted, sharing his knowledge of human combat, tactics, and survival skills. Together they became a force that no one could ignore. As they worked, Lysera reflected on the miracle that had saved her life. The human blood had done more than heal her. It had awakened a potential within her that she had never imagined. She could feel it in every muscle, every thought, every heartbeat. She was no longer just a dying princess. She was a leader reborn, a symbol of hope for an entire species. And she knew that the future, while uncertain, could be brighter than anyone had dared hope. High above, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the rebirth of a warrior princess and the human who had given her life again. The bond between them was unbreakable, and together they would face whatever the galaxy had in store. The enemies would come, but they would meet resistance unlike any they had ever seen. A combination of human determination and alien power, united in a fight for survival. And so, the first chapter of this unlikely alliance came to a close with the palace alive with plans, hope, and the quiet hum of energy that whispered of a future yet to be written. Lysera, the once dying princess, had been reborn through human blood, and with it she had ignited a spark that could light the galaxy. The next morning on Geryon, the palace was alive with activity. Soldiers moved swiftly, scouts reported from distant villages, and engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged structures. Princess Lysera, once frail and weak, now moved with energy that seemed almost supernatural. The human blood that had saved her life had not only restored her strength, it had unlocked something new. Something that made her faster, sharper, and more capable than anyone could have imagined. Captain Kale watched her closely. He had faced many battles in his life, but he had never seen anyone transform so completely. It was not just her physical power, it was her mind. She saw strategies before they became necessary, sensed danger before it arrived, and inspired loyalty in every person who met her gaze. The soldiers who had once been doubtful now looked to her for guidance, and even the remaining council members seemed to understand that the princess they had mourned was gone. In her place stood a leader born not only of royalty but of resilience, courage, and a bond that crossed the boundaries of species. The first challenge came sooner than expected. Enemy fleets, alerted by the energy surge from the blood infusion, appeared on Jarian's horizon. They were led by a coalition of rival alien factions, eager to seize what remained of the planet and extinguish any hope for the Jarian people. These invaders were well equipped, their ships armed with advanced weaponry capable of leveling entire cities. But they had underestimated Lysera and the unexpected alliance she had formed with Kale. Lysera studied the approaching fleet from the palace balcony, feeling the pulse of energy within her. She could sense the ship's movements, their weak points, and even the intentions of their commanders. Her human companion stood beside her, analyzing tactics and giving precise recommendations. Together they formed a plan that relied not just on brute force but on strategy, timing, and the clever use of both human and Jarian technology. When the first wave of enemy ships opened fire, Lysera raised her hands, channeling energy in a way that few of her people had ever seen. Pulses of light struck the enemy vessels, disabling engines and shields and creating openings for Kale and the palace defenders to exploit. Kale moved with precision, coordinating strikes and setting traps that combined human ingenuity with alien machinery. Their teamwork was seamless, their bond evident in every action. As the battle raged, Lysera discovered new abilities. She could manipulate energy flows in the air, redirecting blasts from enemy weapons back at their sources. Her speed allowed her to move across the battlefield faster than any soldier, intercepting attacks before they could land. She could even communicate through thought with Kale, their bond allowing instantaneous coordination that confused and intimidated their enemies. The once dying princess had become a force that no army had anticipated, a symbol of the human-alien partnership that had altered the course of the conflict. Yet, despite their strength, the situation was not without danger. The enemy had brought a massive warship, far larger and more powerful than any they had faced before. Its weapons were devastating, capable of destroying entire city blocks in seconds. Lysera and Kale realized that brute force alone would not win this battle. They would need to think creatively, combining every advantage at their disposal. Kale suggested a daring plan. Using the human approach of precision strikes and feints, they would lure the warship closer to the planet's energy cores. There, Lysera could use her amplified abilities to overload the ship's systems without harming the surrounding cities. The plan was risky, but it relied on the very thing that had saved Lysera's life in the first place: human ingenuity and courage combined with alien power. As the warship advanced, Lysera moved with incredible speed, guiding Kale and the defenders through a series of maneuvers that drew the enemy into their trap. Her senses were so sharp that she could anticipate every move the opposing commanders made. Kale followed her lead, coordinating strikes and sabotaging critical systems. Together, they created confusion among the enemy forces, and the massive warship fell into the energy trap Lysera had prepared. With a surge of light and energy, the warship's systems overloaded. Explosions rocked the battlefield, but Lysera's careful control prevented collateral damage. The ship was destroyed, and the enemy fleet, seeing their command destroyed, retreated in disarray. The victory was remarkable, but it was more than a military success. It was a testament to the bond between human and alien, a proof that cooperation, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the most formidable odds. After the battle, the palace erupted in celebration. Citizens who had survived the wars and disease came forward, cheering for their princess and the human warrior who had saved her. Lysera, though exhausted, stood tall and addressed her people. "This victory is not mine alone," she said, her voice strong and confident. "It belongs to every one of you who has endured hardship and refused to give up. And it belongs to a friend from another world, whose courage and life have reminded us all of what hope can achieve." Kale smiled, humbled by the acknowledgement. He had never sought fame or recognition, only the challenge of survival and the thrill of adventure. But seeing the impact they had together, he realized that humans, though often underestimated, could make a difference in ways that resonated across galaxies. In the days that followed, Lysera and Kyle worked to rebuild Jarian. The human warrior shared techniques for organizing defenses, improving infrastructure, and training soldiers in ways that combined agility, strategy, and ingenuity. Lysera, now fully revitalized, led her people with a blend of wisdom and innovation that had not been seen in generations. Together, they restored hope to a planet that had been on the brink of despair. But their greatest achievement was not in technology or weapons, it was in the unity they inspired. Aliens who had been divided by fear, prejudice, and old rivalries began to cooperate under Lysera's leadership. They saw that the human traits of courage, adaptability, and determination could complement their own abilities, creating a strength far greater than any individual power. Communities began to rebuild, children played in the once abandoned streets, and the energy of life returned to Jarian in ways that had seemed impossible. Lysera reflected on the journey that had brought her here. Just days ago, she had been facing death, unsure if she would ever see another sunrise. Now she was stronger, wiser, and capable of guiding her people toward a new future. She understood that her connection with Kale had been more than a life-saving measure. It had opened the door to evolution, to growth, and to the realization that humans and aliens could achieve remarkable things together. Kale, too, felt the weight of what had happened. He had come to Jarian seeking adventure, but he had found purpose. He had discovered that human resilience and creativity could make a tangible difference in a world far from Earth. And perhaps, most importantly, he had formed a bond that transcended species, a partnership based on trust, respect, and shared determination. The sun rose once again over the restored cities, casting warm light over the shining towers and green gardens. Jarian was not fully healed, but it was alive, vibrant, and full of potential. Lysera walked among her people, offering guidance, encouragement, and hope. Kale followed, ever vigilant, ready to lend his skills wherever they were needed. Together they had faced despair, overcome impossible odds, and created something new, a future where human courage and alien wisdom could coexist and thrive. In the quiet moments, when the celebrations had quieted and the palace lights dimmed, Lysera and Kale stood together looking out at the horizon. "We've done more than survive," Lysera said softly. "We've changed the destiny of this world." Kale nodded, feeling the truth of her words. "And this is only the beginning. There are other worlds out there, other people who could use hope, guidance, and courage. Humans have a way of surviving, of inspiring, of fighting for what matters. And now we've proven it can matter anywhere, even here." As night fell over Jarian, the stars sparkled brighter than ever before. The story of the human who gave his blood to a dying princess, and the princess who rose stronger than ever, would become legend. Their names would be remembered not just for heroism in battle, but for the proof that unity, courage, and determination, qualities often underestimated in humans, could reshape the fate of a civilization. And so, a dying princess had been reborn. A human warrior had found his purpose, and together they had turned despair into hope. Jarian would never forget the day its people learned that even in the darkest times, the strength of one person or two could illuminate the entire world. The galaxy would take notice, and in the hearts of those who heard their story, a simple truth would endure. Humans, with their courage, creativity, and unwavering determination, could rise to meet any challenge, and sometimes they could even save a world.